And welcome to Capital Talk, a program we hope will have an impact on the future of Kenya. And now more than ever, I'm Jeff Koinange. Now, you were probably all expecting Joseph Helen on the bench today, but I understand he had a court case, so we're going to leave him to that and get on with the matters of the day. Crucial matters that have to do with the future of Kenya. Like the opening of Parliament Tuesday. What does it mean, especially after that circus last week? The Prime Minister suspending 2 ministers, the President unsuspending them, saying he wasn't consulted, Prime Minister claiming there was a crisis, saying Kofi Annan needs to step in. What was all that about? We want to talk to a man who knows a thing or two about conflict, about crises, a man who's worked around the region, dealing with conflicts from Uganda to Somalia to Zimbabwe and DRC. He's been on the bench before, and this man knows what he's talking about. He calls it from the heart. So, talk about Parliament. We'll talk about the TJRC. We'll talk about scandals. We'll talk about keeping our eyes on the prize, or why we keep dropping the ball. 1 step forward, 2 steps backwards. That's the Grand Coalition. Let's see what Dr. David Matsanga, Chief Negotiator, has to say about it. So, welcome to the bench, Doctor.
Welcome.
Let's lay it down on the line. First of all, you've solved a lot of conflicts in the region, or you've helped solve a lot of conflicts. And bottom line is, you want to run for president in your own country. You have your own ulterior motives.
Yes. I am standing as a presidential candidate, independent presidential candidate for 2011. I will contest with President Museveni. We shall count the votes countrywide. If I get 50,000 votes, 100,000 votes, if he defeats me, I will concede defeat. Because taking part in any election does not mean you always win. It also means you create a culture of democracy, how democracy should evolve. If you lose, you come back and concede and say you have lost, you wait for another time. And that's why I'm taking part. I'm still a young person. I will again try if I am defeated. I will not go to the bush or I will not go anywhere else, but I will go back to try to contest again with President Museveni, because he has overstayed after 24 years with no term limit. I think Ugandans need a change. And I come from a region which is the biggest region, and plus northern Uganda, where I've created peace, I've brought peace, I negotiated peace. Peace has returned now. We stand chances of winning very many votes in that area.
But you know, bottom line, Doctor, that there's no way you can beat M7 right now. You know this for a fact.
No, but you have to try. I mean, beating, of course, President Museveni has, I am one of the few political opposition leaders who say he has done something for Uganda. There are good things that he has tried, but he needs us to give him more energy, more brains, more ideas on how to push a legacy, to leave a legacy like Mwalimu Nyerere. You don't stay until you are caught and you are thrown out like in Niger. Some generals just come during lunchtime, you're having lunch and they grab you and take you. If African leaders should run to retire when they are still liked. So that is why I'm saying I'm coming in to save the country. I'm coming in to save President Museveni from leaving a non-legacy. I want his legacy to continue. If he defeats me in the votes, like he will defeat others or he will win. If he wins, and if we win in opposition, we shall work hand in hand with NRM. But if he wins also, he will look at people who have participated in our democracy. And as Ugandans, we work together and build our country.
Maybe that's something Kenyans should learn, because I don't know what kind of legacy our leaders are about to leave for us, Doctor, but it's not looking very pretty.
Well, Kenya has had its own share. And believe me or not, the Grand Coalition is one of the most complicated governments that you can ever be involved in. So, much of the blame, and I've been on this bench, Jeff, I've told you that the government of Kenya has not been given time to actually perform its duties. All the time there has been international pressure from Ocampo, from Kofi Annan, from this one, from the Rainberger, the ambassador of the United States, from sanctions. They are putting sanctions. People should not travel here. You cannot work properly when you are being given that type of pressure from outside. And two, it looks like most Kenyans look at international aspect for their hope, which is a very dangerous situation. I'm a Ugandan. I am a critic of President Museveni. We don't see much eye to eye, but we meet, and when we meet, we shake. But I don't criticize my country.
So when someone is going out saying, oh, Kofi Annan, please come back. Oh, Kofi Annan, come help solve our problems. Does that sound a little immature?
The problem is that Kofi Annan did his job. He's a commendable person. Unfortunately for me, I closed his doors from going to Zimbabwe. I told Mbeki that if we allow Kofi Annan to come to Zimbabwe, we have a problem. We want to solve the Zimbabwe problem. And I'm proud. I want to tell the whole Kenyan and other people listening worldwide that I'm proud. I advised the president of Zimbabwe that let's not call in Kofi Annan. Wherever Kofi Annan has tried to solve conflict, no conflict has been solved. Let's be very frank.
So why
From Rwanda,
yes,
the genocide, Somalia, Kosovo, East Timor, look at it, Liberia, Sierra Leone. Most of these have ended up haphazardly.
So why do Kenyans put him on such a high pedestal?
I think because Kenya had never received such a catastrophe like the one that befell them after the elections in 2007. And two, he was the only available African statesman. If to look at the problem of Kenya, the rest of them who came in were not independent. So Kenya at that time needed what we call a stop-gap measure, which is to stop the conflict, stop the killing, come back to table. Kofi Annan was handy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, in real benchmarks of conflict resolution, and I repeat, benchmarks, they were not there.
So do we need Kofi Annan to tell us whether some ministers should be suspended or not?
That is now for the national government in grand coalition. The two principles must come back together. They must sit down. And I'm happy that the Prime Minister has said they will solve this problem without fighting further than that. Because when you call what Kenyans should know, and I want to put it on record, that any time you call international apparatus, you are diluting your own national integrity. You are no more. You become saltless in terms of governance, in terms of doing business. No investor is going to come here when he knows there is no system of arbitration. In case he invests his money, he has to look at the courts. Yeah. And that is why I am very, very, very annoyed and upset with Ocampo. And I have petitioned the United Nations Security Council through my good friend, my brother, Dr. Ruakana Rugunda, as the Security Council representative for Africa, to reduce the powers of Ocampo. Because Ocampo has been given too many powers that if he hates you, Koinange, he takes you. If he likes you, he leaves you. So these powers must be slashed. And
the latest incident was what? The trial judges.
Yes.
They want more evidence, is that it?
I told you on this bench, I told you that the threshold, the lawyers know this. There is no threshold here, specific examples. All what Ocampo ran with is hearsay. That is not called evidence in the ICC.
But Waki envelope could not have been hearsay.
That is even backdoor legal apparatus. That was backdoor. To take an envelope secretly when other people don't know is also not very proper in legal terms. That's why judges, the problem here is that we are dealing with judges not in Africa, but in international scene. They are doubting something. The prosecutor and the procedure 50/4 should, the rules and the procedures of the ICC, you must bring specific examples that will be focused on when the judges want to authorize, when you are using Article 15 to invoke authorization. Ocampo just picked hearsay, talk shop. He came here for sunshine, for a mara, and then picked a few evidence. No, the judges now want, one, he has to prove, is Kenya a failed state? No. I've said here, and I will say, you can cut off my hands, you can lock me in prison. Kenya is not a failed state. For it to be invoked, to be used, for Article 15 to be used on Kenya. Article 17 of the Rome Statute, a failed state is a state where there is no judiciary, there is no police, there is no minister, everybody is in Somalia. But Kenya has judiciary. The judges on 18 February were asking Ocampo, have you genuinely, if Kenya has genuinely, let people, my friends in parliament, I have colleagues here who should listen to this. This is your country. Genuinely, if Kenya has failed, if it has failed to prosecute these people, then the judges will authorize. This case of Ocampo, I am here. And I will come back to this bench again. It is already clouded with mystery and clouded with fake.
But doctor, what that means at the end of the day is 2 years later, and you know this week is 2 years since the signing of the National Accord. You know this.
Yes.
2 years later, not a single person has been arrested to do with the post-election violence. Not a single person.
I told you, and I said it again, go back to this same program. I said the Rome, the ICC, the Hague route is longer. We might have convictions in 2016 when some of these people have died without seeing the jail. Some of them, I don't condone impunity. I don't condone violence. I hate violence. That's why I went to look for Koinange to bring him on table and sit down with Museveni and say, let's finish this. I hate violence. Therefore, there are some people, the longer you take, the longer the victims will have a problem. The longer those alleged, whose names cannot be cleared, will have a problem. The Hague route is very long, and it is not going to happen. Thinking that by next week, next month, and after about 2 weeks, the judges will come up and say we don't have enough evidence to authorize the investigations and the arrest of all this and other things. That means Ocampo has go back on book again to start afresh.
Back to square one.
Back to square one. Because there are no specifics. They are looking for specifics. They are looking for if the judiciary is not there and it has failed, they are looking for the information of specific focus. Where do you focus your attention? If you want to charge somebody, say that on this day I saw Koinange drawing money from the bank, going to buy pangas that were killing people. Let people not mislead people here, outreach people of ICC coming here to mislead the people. No, the international law is very clear. You must have proof. The burden of proof now lies with Ocampo to justify that Kenya is a failed state, to justify to the court that the judges here are not capable to arrest these people, and many other things that have come up as a result of the judgment that we saw on 18th of February.
But tell me something, doctor. So what do you urge these legislatures when Parliament opens on Tuesday? Is it important? Is it very crucial that they vote for a special local tribunal? I know you've been talking about this. A special local tribunal. Is this key?
It goes back to credibility, sovereignty. If Jomo Kenyatta woke up from the grave here and saw what is going on here, where people are demanding for an international prosecutor to come and who has more powers to arrest or not to arrest people, it would be very bad.
He would be very disappointed.
Disappointed with us, with the whole generation, because Jomo Kenyatta was not a president of Kenya, was the president of Africa. He was one of the sons of Africa that people loved. So the local MPs, the MPs here, my colleagues, we should do everything possible. You see, the judges in The Hague are signaling to you there is still a window of hope for you to create a local tribunal to try these suspects so that they don't walk free 4 years past, because in the ICC they will walk. Ocampo will come to waste a lot of money here, running around where Naivasha and this and that. That's 6 months gone. And to go back to file this, 6 months gone. Where shall we be? The victims will suffer. The people whose names have been mentioned or rumored in these talk shops, you know, we don't call this evidence. Even the act of taking an envelope is going to be questioned, because I'm not like those professors from my colleagues, professors whom I know very well, good lawyers though, they are very good lecturers. I am not going to act that way, but most of the people are acting to expose, even films. I was here as Sky News consultant for Africa. I brought a crew of Sky News of about 80 people. They went all over. I have video footage of what was happening in this country. And therefore, this information is going to be given also to judges for them to look, to see what happened.
Doctor, I want to talk about that because that's very crucial. Number two, TJRC, I know you've worked a lot with Ambassador Kiplagat in parts of Africa, Malawi and other parts, Mozambique. Renamo, exactly. I want your thoughts on that because people are calling for his head. They want him to resign from the TJRC. And also, where do we go from here? You know, this one step forward, two steps backwards. Will this grand coalition survive to 2012? First, let's take a break. Good grief, it's only Monday. Dr. David Matsanga breaking it down. We're talking back to reality. That's right, issues that affect us as Kenyans. And with Parliament reopening on Tuesday, we want to know which is the best way forward. So much on their plate. Are they going to be able to accomplish it before 2012? Don't even think of going away. Capital Talk is back in a moment. And welcome back to Capital Talk. We've begun the week with looking at the issues. What's plaguing the country as Parliament reopens Tuesday? Is there a crisis in government? Should the ministers be suspended, the ones who were unsuspended? Where do we go from here? What's going to happen? Dr. David Matsanga is a conflict resolution expert who knows a thing or two about conflicts from Uganda to Somalia to Zimbabwe, DRC. He's been there, he's done it. He knows a thing or two. Oh, by the way, he's running for president of Uganda, that is. Dr. David Matsanga.
Yes.
The TJRC.
Yes.
It's a very noble venture. It's a very good thing, and it's very needed in this country. But when they put the commissioners together and they appointed Bethwell Kiplagat as the chairman, there's been a lot of backlash to such an extent that they're calling for his resignation. I think he's this close to resigning.
First of all, I want to tell you and I assure you that Bethel Kiplagat is a great friend of mine. He has achieved a lot and he has worked so hard on conflict resolution in the whole Africa. He's known worldwide. He worked on Renamo. I remember in Italy, in Rome, when the leader of Renamo kept us waiting in the room for him to come and sign the final document. And President Kisano, we are panting, thinking he was not going to come. Bethel Kiplagat was there. He's a good person. To me, he has nothing wrong at all. Let me come to this point, which I have seen, and I always call a spade a spade. Politics of mass hysteria, of killing Barnabas, or killing Jesus and releasing Barnabas is not very good. Let's have politics of principles. There are many, if you are hating Kiplagat because he worked in a government as a civil servant previously, then you should hate everybody. Because most of all the MPs, all the people, all the ministers currently here, including the Prime Minister and the President, have worked with President Moi.
They're all students of Moi.
Oh, yes. So the people narrowing issues to narrow issues like this is a nation. A nation wants healing now. A nation wants the truth. People want to know how Oko died. People want to know how J.J. Kariuki died. People want to know all these things. Don't waste time on personality. The man is just a chairman. There are several other people there who are going to check him. The credibility, morality is there. Kiplagat is a well-known person worldwide. There has not been a warrant of arrest being issued against him that you should bring him down. Yes, everybody participated in all these regimes. So you think everybody should be killed because he was working with Kenyatta government or Moi government? Let's come up, Kenyans and East Africans. Let's walk up high.
What is it about us, Doctor, that we're always quick to judge people? You know,
you are picking NGO syndrome. Kenyans are picking NGO syndrome. What NGO in Europe says, you have to agree and work on that. Yeah. That is very bad politics. Yeah. That is the politics that killed Zimbabwe with Morgan Changarai. He used NGO syndrome. Yeah. Let's remove Mugabe by force. And I used to tell him, you can't remove a president who has liberated you by force. The NGO syndrome is catching this country very fast. People whom you find on the plane going to Europe are going to say, oh, I'm going to meet the head of the NGO. No, let's work as Kenyans. Let's create our own jobs. Let's create our own initiatives, our own business, our own innovation. Let's be patriotic to our country first. Yeah. I have told you here that even if I have never been to Uganda for 24 years, I only went there when under UN soldiers and protection taking me to meet Museveni.
And you still want to run for president?
Yes, but I live in Uganda. I don't change nationality to another country. I've stayed in Britain for a long time. Yeah. But I keep my Ugandan identity, my Ugandan flag flying. I don't undermine my country. I don't call for sanctions against my country. But the people here call for sanctions against their own country. They want to undermine this country through NGO syndrome. That's why you see every NGO human rights. If you are a human rights activist, why do you again segregate Kiplagat? Surely, if you are a chairman of a human rights organization, what are you supposed to protect? All people's interests. But you are now heading for Kiplagat's head. You are now creating human rights abuse. You know, you are abusing human rights of Kiplagat by isolating him. You bring out issues, what he has done wrong, and let the world know that he did this, he killed this, he did this, he has done that, then people will agree.
Why do you think he survived so long personally? Do you think he wants to exercise the devils within him, or because he doesn't need this job? He's like 75, 76 years old. He doesn't need this job. Or does he?
The man knows conflict resolution. Koinange, Jeff, it is one thing to talk about heading an organization and another thing to have the tools of analysis to manage a conflict, to listen to all these eras of what happened from 1963 up to now. You need a person who has a wider experience in conflict resolution. Don't bring in the Kofi Annan type of conflict resolution where you bring Ocampo. Kofi Annan brings Ocampo in the waiting left-hand side, and he's doing it on the right-hand side, telling Ocampo there is an envelope for you to go. As soon as I leave Serena Hotel, there is an envelope. You need a mature person. At 75, Kiplagat is mature. Let's not kill him because of his age, but let's give him a chance. If he doesn't produce a good report, if there is a report that implicates him, he will step aside. But there is no report. The man has told you he has nothing. He has nothing that he has to fear. As far as I know, I've known him, and I will fight for him. I will stand by him and say whether he's in his job or not. We always meet on aircraft when we are going abroad. Yeah. I've sat together with him. I've been with him in so many conflict resolution angles. I have never said he gives me a job or whatever. But look at this. There is nothing like witch hunting a single person simply because he worked with Kenyatta's government or Moi's government or what. All these people have worked in these governments. Yeah. And therefore, should we all tell them to calm down and we get a new generation like you to come in?
Maybe that's what we need, Doctor. Maybe that's what we need, a new generation. In the meantime, what does the president do right now? With Parliament opening, there's so much friction in there. All these alliances forming. The Prime Minister wants to get rid of some of the ministers in ODM, which he probably can. I don't know, but he needs the president's approval. What does the president do?
You see,
because at the end of the day, we're fighting corruption or trying to, with all these scandals.
Corruption. Let me first of all say, what does the president need to do? A grand coalition is a new thing for Kenya. Kenya is used to a majority rule by one party. You had never seen this before. It's a new thing. We have to agree here. And please let these political parties I see on your bench telling people, no, cool down. You have got to agree that in this grand coalition, it is difficult to maintain harmony all the time. But it also comes back to an issue where you can bring harmony by allowing individuals to exercise some of the rights. What has happened here is there are two distinct things. The party has got its code of conduct. If PNU, which is in collision with grand collision with ODM, if PNU finds that some minister is erratic, these are matters that should not surface on national level. matters should be solved within the party organs. We should not solve this on public domain. That is why it is called a grand coalition, not your party, not your government. Yeah. It's a government headed by the president and the prime minister, inclusive as a grand partners of a grand coalition. Therefore, if there are matters, I am not here to judge which side went wrong or what. No, I'm giving political science pure. If it's a grand coalition, seek consensus. Consensus is the virtue of livelihood in a grand coalition.
But don't take it out to the public.
If you do that, you have erred. And if you err, people make mistakes. Yes, there is corruption. And I've talked about corruption on this bench several times.
Yeah.
You talk about corruption in Kenya. There are many countries that are worse than Kenya. Yes, corruption takes two people. That is well known. There is somebody giving and there are people taking. There are those who take public things, which is different from the one giving. People who know from their conscience that they have acted wrongly by being corrupted by certain taking people's money, or mistakes have been made without them checking, they should resign. But if people are convinced, if a person is convinced that he has not made a mistake, you should give him a chance to explain. It is now important for these parties to call their people who were forwarded in the grand coalition. What happened? Then from the party disciplinary committees, we should set up an example of democracy involving. Don't shout about democracy on the top of the roof. You see what has killed me in this whole saga all over Africa is the politics of mass hysteria again. People go for you, even when you have not stolen, they want you dead. Yeah. So, and the people use masses. Masses and the principles are two different things. In political science, if you have principles, you survive longer. But if you rely on masses, populist theories, yes, you crumble very fast. And you can be fixed in a very catch-22 where the trouser does not come up at all. You just find yourself, you are dead. You are finished. So let's take this as a grand coalition of consensus. I'm sure His Excellency, the President Kibaki is a mature person. His Right Honorable Prime Minister is a mature person. They have seen this country come from far from problems, and they have put these problems aside and they are together. They will come back, and I urge them. And as an East African and an African who wants to see peace, Nairobi is the best place where you can stay. If what affects Nairobi affects Kampala. Yeah. If the railway is broken in Nairobi, Kampala has no food. My mother, who is the only living person on this planet, my relationship will die. So we need Nairobi to be peaceful. We need Kenya to be peaceful. We need Kenya to have a vision. And Kenya has a vision. But Koinange, Jeff, people have not given this government time even to brief. There is no briefing space. Oh my God, Ocampo. Oh my God, Annan. Oh my God, this. Oh Mao. Oh this one. Oh my, another scandal. I think they are manufacturing. There are people here manufacturing lots of. Let's not do that politics. Yeah. Politics of manufacturing lies also can create a very big problem for Kenya.
It's diversionary tactics.
Tactics when the issue is corruption. Let's look at it. Let's address corruption. Museveni has got a method in Uganda. And maybe President Kibaki and Raila, is the Right Honorable Prime Minister, my elder, Raila can walk with Pingo. Museveni takes Pingo in his briefcase. Handcuffs. And when he finds one person has stolen money in a rally and they say he stole, he did not build a dispensary, he doesn't go back. It takes him. Yeah. Some people needed that.
We're going to have to leave it at that, Doctor.
Okay, thank you very much.
And good luck with your presidential campaign.
Okay, thank you.
All right?
Thanks.
Nice job. Dr. David Matsanga there, breaking it down, saying charity begins at home. The politics of mass hysteria, that doesn't work. That NGO mentality does not work. If you have a problem, call up the person you have a problem with, solve it amicably. That's the only way to move forward. 2 years after the National Accord was signed, Dr. Matsanga says, we have progressed. Maybe not enough, but we have progressed. That's a lot to be said. And as Parliament opens Tuesday, we have to watch, see, observe, and shout if we see people doing wrong. That's our job, but not the politics of mass hysteria. Whoa, it's only Monday. What a guest, what a show. It's gonna be a great week, believe me when I say this. Just like last week, this one is gonna be equally great. And you can only find these kinds of guests right here on the bench, on the award-winning station, K24. As always, we are all Kenyan.
All the time.
Capital Talk is recorded at the Fairview Hotel, the country hotel in town.